The Johnsons had always been skeptical of the supernatural. They laughed at ghost stories, scoffed at seances, and dismissed any mention of the afterlife as pure nonsense. But one night everything changed. The Johnsons had just moved into an old Victorian house on the outskirts of town. It was a beautiful, sprawling property with creaky floorboards and a musty scent that spoke of its long history. They were thrilled to call it their own. But one evening, as they were sitting down for dinner, the Johnsons heard an odd noise. It was a faint whispering that seemed to come from nowhere in particular. They brushed it off as their imaginations and continued with their meal. But the whispering continued. Night after night, the Johnsons were plagued by the same sound until they could no longer ignore it. One evening, they decided to investigate. They followed the sound to the basement, where they found an old trunk. Inside, they discovered a Ouija board and a note that read, "Beware of the spirits." Despite their initial hesitation, the Johnsons couldn't resist trying the Ouija board. They lit candles, placed their fingers on the planchette, and asked if anyone was there. At first, there was no response. But then, the planchette began to move. It spelled out the name Emily and told them that she was a ghost who had been trapped in the house for centuries. The Johnsons were amazed and frightened. They began to communicate with Emily regularly, and over time, they grew close to her. They even began to feel sorry for her as she recounted stories of her lonely afterlife. But one night, everything changed. Emily became hostile, angry, and vengeful. She accused the Johnsons of being disrespectful and demanded that they leave the house at once. The Johnsons were terrified. They tried to communicate with Emily, but she was unresponsive. And then, in a fit of rage, she attacked them. The Johnsons never made it out of the house. They were found days later, dead and covered in scratches and bruises. The police never solved the mystery of their deaths, but the neighbors say that they still hear whispers coming from the house at night. And some say that if you listen closely, you can hear Emily's laughter echoing through the halls.